Okay, hello and welcome. Today we have intuitive business mentor Jennifer Lyall here with us. She is going to share all about her business and what she does and how that will help you as a scaling service provider with your business. So thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you. I'm so excited for our conversation and for everyone listening and the little rocket boost they're going to get for growing in their journey. Oh, so good. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, and I love talking with you, so I'm excited also because I feel like it's going to lift me up at the same time. So let's dive in. So please introduce yourself and really tell people about what you do and how you serve.
I'm an intuitive business mentor. So I blend intuition with business strategy. So I have a background in corporate, in marketing and project planning, project management. And I'm really good at seeing the big picture of people's purpose and their business. And I can feel into the energetic match of their ideas, the opportunities they're pursuing, the situations that they're navigating through, and helping them understand if it's something to say yes to that's on their path to their purpose or something that is really going to sidetrack them. So I save people a lot of time and a lot of money. And I also teach them how to have faith and how things can unfold. So for instance, one client was really struggling. She had this big project she wanted to bring to life in Costa Rica, and she needed a new funding source. And I helped her with tapping into a new $1 million funding source when she was ready to give up. So there's something so powerful for each person to tap into, and I help them with developing the internal superpowers to step into who they need to be to fulfill the purpose that they're here to bring to life.
Oh, that's so powerful. And we were actually talking before we hit record about on our last conversation, and I shared with you that you had just in that conversation was so powerful that it actually sparked something in me to help me to have these realizations to pivot and take my business in another direction, and the direction that is really aligned with me. So getting back to, let's say, okay, like how we do this. So you were in corporate, and then I'm curious actually how you discovered this gift and how you were able to channel it into your business and what you do today.
Great question. So I had kids. I'm just outside of Toronto. I was doing the long commute into Toronto when I was working in corporate, and I said, that's not going to work so well. So after my second son, I was working part-time for a marketing company, and that person shifted their business, and then I got the nudge to start my own business. And I actually started my business with a video podcast called Vitamin Junkies back in 2008. So this is before podcasting was cool. And it was focused on inspiring people to be proactive about their health. My intention was just to sell some advertisements in the podcast. So if you can kind of flash back to 2008, what was going on in the world. So podcasting was new, it's in its infancy. The wellness world was just building momentum in North America. And there was also a recession happening. And I didn't believe in myself. I was a mom who was passionate about wellness, but I was just a mom. I didn't have any degrees behind me that was around wellness. So I got a handful of advertisers in this podcast, and I had a hard time selling my podcast because, as I said, I was just a mom who was passionate. I had a co-host that was a naturopathic doctor, so I felt that lent some credibility to the podcast, but I was getting really frustrated and stressed out because I have a bachelor degrees of commerce with honors. I'm a real smarty pants. I had the corporate background, but being an entrepreneur was different. And I came to this place where I was beating myself up for not getting the results that I'd wanted in my business. And I had to come to a place of, hey, hold on, be gentle with yourself. Really, the last year or two, you were focusing on working part-time while your kids were in school. Once your youngest is in school full-time, then give yourself permission to discover what really makes your heart sing. And it was March of 2010 that I made this declaration. It was pitch black outside. The house was quiet. It was like 6 a.m. And there was something in that declaration where the universe said, all right, she's finally listening. Send down the signals. I think she's going to pay attention this time. And then there were all of these incredible synchronistic events. And with me being such a smarty pants, really in my head, a control freak, I was having all of these incredible experiences, spiritual experiences, starting to sense things. I had so many moments where I felt like I was going crazy, witnessing the synchronicities. And I remember saying to my husband, do you think I'm crazy yet? And he's like, would you stop saying that? So I had to come to this place of surrender, to let go of control. And during that journey, I discovered meditation. I discovered using a pendulum for dowsing, which is a major tool for me in this experience. And then I discovered automatic writing. And it was just transformative. It was a year of sort of peeling back, letting go of control, of surrendering. And through the automatic writing, I received my own modality called Connect to You. And the intention of that work is to connect our three brains, our intuitive brain, our emotional brain, and our logical brain, so we can tap into those three wisdoms and trust in ourselves more, feel into what our purpose really is. So it was through the automatic writing that I was revealed my purpose of inspiring 1 million people to connect in with their soul. Now, I thought that it was just going to be through my modality, Connect to You, but I've become aware of how much deeper it is and the many tools that I have that are inspiring people. Like I've had people say to me, I think you've already done it just from conversations you've had and podcasts you've shared. You probably already surpassed that number. But I have a bigger project in mind. But yeah, so that's how it came for me. And then it just came to this deepening that self-trust. Becoming okay with people seeing me who knew me as this smarty pants, had this perception of me of somebody in corporate, diving into this spiritual world. That took a couple of years of unpacking, to be completely honest and transparent.
No, but it's so important to be honest and transparent, because I feel like so many times when people share these things, they kind of gloss over these transitional periods. And then other people think that like, oh, this is not happening fast enough for me, right? Like it's not going, so it must not be for me. But in reality, it's a journey and there's no time frame to it. And I love that you started off with just surrendering. And that is probably the most powerful place that you can start any journey like this.
And I'm glad that we're going here, because the surrendering is about letting go of everything that you felt you knew. Letting go of control. Letting go of the old beliefs. Letting go of the old systems and paradigms. Because in order to step into a new potential, you have to let go of who you've been.
Yes. I think we need to say that again, because I feel like that is so important for people to wrap their head around, you know?
Yeah. And so let's kind of go a little bit deeper into this. So if you've ever followed Dr. Joe Dispenza or read the book, The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, they talk about how research has shown that by the time you're 35, 95% of what you do is on autopilot. So you just keep repeating the same thing over and over again, slightly different flavors. It takes a lot of focus and intention to let go of that identity that you spent decades creating. And to just surrender to something else being possible and gently chip away at that. And it's that whole butterfly cocoon thing, you know, the caterpillar goes into that cocoon, turns into mush before it comes out completely different. Yes. Completely different. You've got wings. You've got wings. You go from crawling on the ground to flying in the air. And the same thing, the same kind of transformation is required for you to do that as you're going from one paradigm in how you've been operating your life, your business, as you scale up,
Yes.
or as you transform into a different focus, a different target audience, whatever it may
Okay,
be.
so let's talk about the mush. I want to get back to the mush, right? So in this transformation, and you said it really beautifully, I think that's a very powerful image. What, with you and what you do, what do you see, or what have you seen in your clients when they're in this phase, and what are things, maybe a couple of things that can help, that tools for this period?
So good. I'm really excited to talk about the mush. So the first thing is to get clear on what you
Yes.
want. You'd be surprised how many people don't know what they want.
Oh, 100%. Yeah,
And
100%. Yep.
if you stay in I don't know land, then it's kind of like going to the grocery store when you're hungry and you just put all sorts of things in your grocery cart that you don't need and you don't really want. And then you get home and you regret it later. Same thing happens when you don't have that focus in your business. You end up saying yes to mismatched opportunities. You say yes to programs that really aren't going to get you where you want to go. You say yes to partnering with various people that maybe have a different kind of target audience or a different business model that really aren't going to help you achieve your goals. So getting clear on what you want.
And I love that. I'm going to interrupt you because I love that you said that, because this is something that I had realized on my journey, right? So, and I think a lot of people, this happens to when you're in your business, you go, oh, this is happening, and you just accept it all. And then all of a sudden you have this business and you're like, but wait, what am I doing? Right? So this has happened to me at the beginning. I was a VA, accidentally had a VA agency, and I was like, why do I have this all of a sudden one day, right? That wasn't the goal. And it wasn't until I did exactly what we were talking about, right? What you were just saying is, what do I actually want to do? And then take steps towards that. And that in and of itself is a journey too, right? So it's so important to know, what do I want?
This is gold. Like, this is really good of what you just said there. How you were going along, you were VA, and then it turned into a VA agency because that was the kind of like the natural next step. And you were just kept going in the way that you already had been going because it was what you knew how to do. It was what felt familiar. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense, right? That's what makes sense to your head. Is what makes sense to the outside world. But if it doesn't feel good inside, this comes back to aligning the wisdom of your gut, your intuition, your heart, and your mind. If those aren't lined up, if there's only one light up here in your head, yes, logically that makes sense. That's the way we're supposed to evolve our business. But your heart is like, I feel like throwing up on this ride. It just doesn't do you any good.
Because it's not sustainable, because then you're still not happy. Like, oh, I can make all this money and do this. And you're not like lit up every day to do, like, you're not like, oh, I want to go and work in my business. Like, no, you don't feel that, right? Because you are not aligned with what you actually want to be doing. So super important point, and I just really wanted to emphasize that.
And so the alignment is about energy efficiency. So if we can conceive of this idea of being energetically efficient. So when all those three lights are lit up, your soul's lit up because it's your passion. Emotionally, you feel fantastic. Your heart's singing. You love doing what you're doing. And logically, it makes sense. When those are all lit up, ding, 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 then it's energetically efficient. So what I'm being shown is, it's kind of like a puzzle where you want to have water pour from one area to get down to this pool at the bottom. And if all of these are lined up, so it's one straight stream, then it's energetically efficient. But if only the top one is lined up, I hope this is making sense, one stream going down, but if the other two are turned horizontal, so the water's spilling all over and not getting into the cup, it's not energetically efficient. And then what happens is you feel stressed out. The ideas don't flow. And it's just so much more work to do it. And then you just feel like, what the heck am I doing this for? That's where I'd gotten at the beginning of my journey, where, yes, I'm going to do my podcast. And it was just not aligned.
I love this. You're the queen of analogies, I think. I love these really super visual analogies. They're amazing. Amazing. So, yeah, 100% agree because I have felt this also. I had a previous group coaching program that I ran and I loved it. And it felt heavy. Like it was hard for me to come up with marketing language to go and sell it. Like I was unclear, it was fuzzy. And that's when I shifted into the next level, like a slightly different focus, still taking all of the same ideas, but switching it around. And then I could talk about it forever, right? So it's such a good example of when everything feels aligned, when you're pouring the water into the three buckets and that, what did you say? The energy it's energetically efficient. It's so much easier. Yes, it's so much easier.
Yes.
So amazing point.
Yes. Because when things aren't efficient, so what's happening, there are several things. First, your heart, your soul, and your mind are not aligned. Secondly, you are making choices based on old paradigms of how things are supposed to be. So you have these energetic cords to these cement blocks of things of, well, your father said that you should really have this fancy pants business and you should do it this way. Or it could be that somebody said, oh, it should really be more corporate. You really, what happened? Why aren't you doing that corporate job anymore? Like, wasn't that a lot of fun? Weren't you making good money? Didn't you have good benefits? And so maybe you want to create something that makes sense to have the structure and the falsehood of security of what that corporate job in the past. And so you could be pleasing mom and dad or whoever it was that had that. But you're pulling those energetic blocks. They're like concrete blocks. And then every step you take just feels like you're pushing through mud. And so the work that I do with clients is coming to this place of being more energetically efficient. And one of the big things I help them with is one is releasing those energetic blocks from those old beliefs, paradigms, voices in their heads, stories, and that can be from this lifetime that they're familiar with. And it could also be passed down ancestrally, which is an area of science called epigenetics. So just like how your DNA is passed down, epigenetically, these stories and paradigms and beliefs are passed down. And it's passed down through the language, through the tone of voice, the way you're parented. It's passed down through the generations. Yeah. And so not only do I help them with releasing them, but I also help my clients with getting clear on when are you going into the autopilot? How is that preventing you from moving forward? How are you self-sabotaging yourself and preventing yourself from moving forward?
Yeah, a lot of times we don't even know it, right? You don't recognize when that's happening.
Exactly. So I teach a process of how to check your inner battery. And I'm on a mission to teach 1 million people how to check their inner battery as often as they check their phone battery. And this is about taking a pause. How am I feeling physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually in this moment? And then as you check in on a scale of 1 to 10 of how you're feeling in these areas, that's also going to give you an indication as to, are you in your head? How are you feeling emotionally? How are you aligned? How are you feeling spiritually for that connection to whatever higher power it is that you believe in, to your truth, to your intuition? If those numbers are low, you're not being energetically efficient. You are pushing through the muck. And there's something else that's going on. Now, sometimes there are things that happen. Maybe you're sick. Maybe you've just lost someone and you're grieving, and that's okay. So using that pause to check in is important to be able to understand and give yourself the space and grace to move through some of these things that you need a little more space to move through. But when your numbers are low and there's like not really a reason for it, then you're pushing up against your old paradigms and your self-sabotaging patterns. And that's your opportunity to decide, do I want to keep trying to move forward in this way? And what you'll notice is that if you try to push through, then whatever it is that you create, it doesn't sit well. You end up going back and reading it or reviewing it. It's just like, oh, that's gone, that's wrong, or that doesn't feel right. And it just doesn't resonate with it's not an energetic match to the vision that it is that you're creating. So you end up having to go fix it. Your other option is, I can see that I'm feeling a little bit off. I'm going to take a pause for 5 minutes, Go outside for a little walk, be barefoot on the grass, have a sip of water, whatever it might be. As you do this more and more, you start to recognize what it is that boosts your inner battery, and then take action from a place where you're more at an 8, 9, or 10, which I call the thriving zone.
This is all 100% on point and things that are so important, because I think a lot of people don't recognize, like, even the very first step of just recognizing in yourself when you're feeling low or when things are not feeling quite right. This is a piece that I have seen with clients, with people in general, that they skip over. Or it's like almost like a glossing over of, okay, no, yeah, okay, and then like to the solution, or to, without the pausing and sitting with it and making sure that everything is, and I use the word alignment a lot, so we have different vocabulary, but we're saying the same thing. So, you know what I mean? Like in alignment like that.
And so what I find is that there are a lot of amazing entrepreneurs that are feeling the pull to something greater, something bigger. And so they chase different programs, different support systems to help them through. And those programs and those experts, they're gold. They know how to do what they need to do, but they're not practiced in how to guide somebody through their own muck.
This is, oh my God, yes, 1,000%, right? They know the strategy, they know what they do, but I've seen a lot of people, I don't want to say fail, but go through unsuccessfully, quote unquote, through a program for that exact reason, because exactly they don't know the inner work, they don't know the inner tools that are like 80% of the game. So yeah, I can see you like wanting to say things, so do it, because I love this.
Yeah, and so what I'm being shown is like somebody who's a swimming coach, and maybe this isn't the greatest analogy, but this is the analogy that I'm being shown. I'm seeing somebody saying, there's a customer on the other side of the river, and this person's like, I know how to get you across to this side here. I know how, or maybe it's just a strategy, and it's like, so you go up on that bridge one step, it's kind of rickety, and you have to go over there to that stone and just don't slip on that stone. And then, so maybe it's not a swim coach, but it's someone who's trying to get them across the river, and it's a little bit tricky and convoluted how to get there. But once you see it, you figure it out. It's like, oh yeah, it's not so bad. Yeah, you have to jump up here, go over there, but you can do it. But then when somebody falls and slips into the river, and then they start to drown, and they're panicking because they've never been in this river. They don't realize that it only goes up to their chest, and if they just stood up, they would be okay. They're in such a panic that the person on the other side of the river is like, just stand up. But they're like, because they're in the muck of it.
Yes.
And they don't know how to calm that person down, because it's like, it's just so logical to just stand up that they can't get them calm enough to witness that they're creating their own problem and maybe sinking down into quicksand at the bottom when they don't even have to, if they could just calm down.
Yes. And what do you recommend? So when people are looking for mentors, coaches, people to help them, and they want to avoid this person who doesn't know what to do when they're in the muck, what do you suggest for them to do? What do you suggest that they look for or ask about for this potential person?
To be honest, like, you're someone who's very aware, and you get the inner work as well as the bigger project work. Like, you get this. But a lot of people are stuck in their head. And sometimes, even when you might need to have different people supporting you with it. So for me, I'm able to help people get really clear on the deep work, and I'm also able to help with the big overarching strategy. I'm really good at both of those. Get down into the nitty-gritty of everything to do. I can do it in general, but I can't navigate them through a specific system unless they're using the same system that me and my team use. but that's not my zone of genius. I wouldn't even want to go there. So sometimes you need to get two powers to support you. One to support you with, so you have to, if you can take into consideration, you have your business and it has its own soul and its own purpose. It's almost like you need helping that to come to life, and then help for you to evolve so that you're that match to be able to bring that and carry that to fruition.
So yeah, I love that. Beautiful imagery. I love all the imagery, but it's very true.
Yeah. And it's just, and it's just like how you would have somebody that would help you with your branding and your graphic design that might not be good at setting up your website. So it's the same kind of thing.
I want to go back to, we had started this list and then we went off on a whole amazing tangent, but back to the original caterpillar, going from caterpillar to butterfly, being in the mush, and we were talking about the first step of deciding what you want to do, and there were more, and I want to make sure we don't miss those.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing us back there. So number one is deciding, and we kind of were going through it. The number two is you're developing your own personal awareness. Understanding what's going on inside of you. So this can take the form of a spiritual practice. It can take the form of, the spiritual practice is a good overarching way of looking at this. Your practice of how you're going to choose how you show up in the day. What I find that a lot of entrepreneurs do is they might have a great morning practice, and that sets them up really well at the beginning of the day. And then by 10 o'clock, something's hit their inbox, a crisis has showed up or whatever, and they end up going back on autopilot to who they've always been. Because that's how they navigate through. That's their default.
You know what this reminds me of? So back in the day, I was in graduate school for clinical psychology, and my focus was on smoking cessation. And one of which, by the way, was like the worst thing because it's so hard for people to quit smoking. It was not, it didn't feel, anyhow, that's a different story. But the point of my story is that one of the things that we would tell people are to prepare ahead of time and know what are you going to do when you get a craving, and have that in your mind already. So you have your tools. So when you do have your craving for a cigarette, you know what you're going to do to not smoke. And that's what I feel like is potentially a really good analogy for what you're saying in the, there's something's happening in the day. What are my tools that I can go to be able to get through it and not go on the autopilot?
I love that you brought up this example, because that's exactly what it is. You have the feeling and then you reach for the cigarette. But let's break down what actually is coming into play when somebody goes to reach for that cigarette. They know that the feeling I'm feeling right now isn't the way I want to feel. Well, now I'm taking it from if you're stressed out or it's a little bit of an escape. So as a non-smoker, I would actually be kind of envious of the smokers, because they would be going out and taking that break and getting the pause and getting away from whatever it was that you were going. So what if instead of there being the smoke break, you're going to do this inner battery boost break? So this is where I would encourage people to have in their schedule checking in between tasks. Even if you were to just do it morning, midday, have it in your calendar. I have it in my calendar as that little reminder to just pause and check in. And then at the end of your day, so you can see how you're flowing before you hop on a call with a prospective client.
Oh, yes.
Tune in. Are you showing up to this client call in survival mode because you're desperate for money? Or are you showing up as the leader you need to be in order to get that client to that next level in the thriving mode? Because that conversation is going to go completely different based on how you're showing up and how you lead it.
Yes, 100%. And having those tools and knowing what to do, say, this is the mode. So checking in and then knowing like, I'm not in the right energy. So now I know what to do to get myself into that mode before the call.
And it's fascinating because as you pause and you check in and you say, how am I feeling physically? You start to recognize the patterns of, I'm feeling tensed up, or how am I feeling mentally? What are the dominant thoughts in your head? Oh, this is coming up, or I'm feeling really foggy. one of my clients, through the checking in, developing the discipline of checking in throughout her day, she discovered that every day at 3 o'clock, if she didn't have things planned out tickety-boo with clients, if she was just having an open day where she was doing more admin stuff or marketing or whatever, she would just go off on the sidetrack at 3 o'clock and sometimes just go and numb herself with Netflix, and then, oh my gosh, it's 8 o'clock. But when she realized this, she was able to then boost her inner battery so she could be more productive and more energetically efficient for the rest of her day.
So important. So many good things. So many good things. Were there any other, I know we could probably talk about it forever, but were there any other mush phase things? Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Okay, so getting clear on what you want. And then it's about becoming aware. So there's surrendering to the processes in there too, but becoming aware of who you are being. And so that pause to check in with yourself, check your inner battery, and make sure that you are in the right vibe. So you're going to come out as the butterfly and not as the moth. The moths are kind of beautiful, but you know what I mean? That it's going to unfold in the way that you want it to. And getting really disciplined on what's going on up here. What's going on up here? Because wherever you're focusing your attention, if you're in this cocoon and you're like, I'm the butterfly, I'm the butterfly, I'm the butterfly, then you'll turn into the butterfly. But if it's, I'm the butterfly, oh, but what if I'm not a pretty butterfly? But what if I end up getting stuck and come out as a caterpillar again? Or what if my wings don't form properly? If that's where your dominant thoughts go, then you're kind of commanding the mush in the cocoon for what it's going to come out to. So if you're not commanding the mush to, I am the butterfly, I am the butterfly, your head is, if it's not there, if it's like all over the place and worried, then things unfold a little chaotic.
You're speaking the truth. Speaking the truth. So much of this is so important and something that obviously you can tell that I am really passionate about, and obviously you're really passionate about, and I really want to spread this word and make sure people are aware, because it makes me so sad. I don't know if you connect with people on Instagram and whatnot, and then maybe you go back later and then their account is gone and you're like, oh, they stopped doing their business, or, it makes me so sad when people give up and they have these dreams and then it doesn't happen. And what we're talking about today, I think, is the thing that makes your dreams come true, that makes them a reality.
And I also believe that who's in that cocoon, what's the incubator, who you're surrounding yourself with. Because if you're trying to turn into a butterfly, or what I'm being shown is that analogy of the crab in the bucket. So if you're hanging out with a whole bunch of crabby people that don't know how to hold a vision, they are so stuck in their paradigms and they're afraid of change, they're going to keep pulling you down. And then that's exhausting. And then eventually, if you are having 80% of your world be in, why do you need to do that? Why can't you just stay there? Why don't you just go back to your corporate job? That was a lot easier, wasn't it? And then that's just the biggest dream crusher. You have to surround yourself with other dreamers, with other people who are just as ambitious as you are. And, that's one of the reasons why I created my Expect Success Collective. Just imagine what's possible in your business when you are focusing your mindset and your energy on expecting success. I've been floored at the transformations in my clients' businesses. One participant, so it's a 6-month immersion. You're welcome to stay on. But one participant just wrapped up her 6 months. She started out feeling really anxious in a business with her husband, and she feels really drawn to be an ambassador for this particular modality. And she's like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And by the end of it, she's confident. She's seeing how she manifests. She sees how her focused thinking and speaking holds the space for what she wants to unfold. And she just gets floored at the results. that she's creating. And she's like, how do I keep this up? How do I make sure that nobody else's energy impacts mine? It's like, well, you've got to create your own little Expect Success collective within your business so that you have everybody in the same mindset, on the same focus, and then things will go gangbusters.
Yes, it's so powerful. Like, it can't be overstated how powerful it is to be in a powerful group, right? And have all that energy around you that raises you up as opposed to pulling you down. So yeah, 100%.
And choosing your suppliers consciously. So having somebody like you who is also of that mindset. So it's not only the logical aspect of it, but also having the energetic awareness too. That's huge. It's huge.
Well, I could do this forever. I want to stay on all day, but I will respect our boundaries, our time boundaries. So please share about you, your business. How can we stay in touch? All of the things. So that way, like, because love all of it, and everybody needs to follow and connect with you. So how do we do that?
Oh, thank you so much. So as an intuitive business mentor, I work with people both one-on-one and in some group programs. If you're really curious about this idea of checking your inner battery and how you can use that as a way to start some really good energy management in your day, you can visit my website, jlyall.com/energy. And you can get my free 7-day energy transformation to help you attract more clients. It's just delicious.
This will be linked, of course, in the show notes and shared with everybody. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for being here and speaking with me today. And I look forward to continuing this relationship that we have. Thank you.
Thank you.